A person grows up believing all this cartoony stuff about religions, and then when they can't believe some of these things that are too hard to accept in reality, they leave God. They leave faith. They leave the God of reality because they're being taught things literally. Doesn't matter what religion you follow. You got to understand something, that the best way to make people understand things, especially if you're uneducated like they were back in the days, hundreds of years ago, the thing is, as you teach in parables. We do this today with children programs. Jesus Christ said himself that he teaches in parables. So what's the danger of teaching things literally? We can see this happening all the time. Your teachings literally they leave God. They leave the faith of God. So in other words, they can't believe themselves, they can't make themselves believe these cartoony things, and so they take off and have no faith in any religion. See, there's a God of reality. The things that control reality, the forces that control the reality, that's God. Okay? So in other words, God is real because we are in a real reality. If you think about something, we live in a planet that's spinning constantly in a circle. And then that planet is spinning around the sun, which is a star, a gigantic ball of gas. And around that are other stars. 100 stars? 1,000 stars? Billion stars? No, more. Do you understand where we're living? What reality we live in? You get an electron microscope and you look at the smallest thing you can, and there's still things smaller. You get the greatest telescope and you're aiming at the heavens, and you still can't reach the end of it. This is the real world that we live in. And you're going to tell me that there's no such thing as magic? Because there's a magic of reality happening right now. Just because something is explained doesn't mean it's not wonderful or a miracle. You could look up and see the moon hanging in the sky, giving us light in the night. You could see the sun rise every morning, giving us light for the day. You can reach out to a tree and grab an apple or banana and just eat it right off the tree. A mother who cares for his child, a mother who cares for her child, tells it she loves him. A father does the same thing. Sometimes they're affectionate. But is the earth not affectionate to us? Has it not given us everything we need? Water, food, shelter, warmth. These things are provided by God. Not a God with a white beard or some cartoony version that some funky religion, kooky religion, that religions they make up every other decade by men. These are not representatives of God. These are people trying to control other people because they want those things. A matter of fact, all religions in the world want one thing: to control the behavior of other men. Why? Power, money, sex. That's it. It's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. That's not God. So if we can't trust religion, what can we trust? We trust spirituality, because it's always been with us. It's been there before we were actually men. We were not even fully human when we discovered spirituality. So, whose God do I worship? I worship the God of reality. I worship Jesus Christ. Not the cartoon Jesus Christ, the real Jesus Christ. That means historical Jesus Christ. A man that was more than a man. So what happens when you see a bunch of televangelists on TV asking your grandparents to give them money? And they do. Because they think these people are speaking for God. They're not speaking for God. They're speaking for men. You know, when a person loses faith because they can't bring themselves to believe all this cartoony stuff, then they turn their faith from God. They turn away from the God of reality. And then sometimes they go into the occult. There's nothing wrong with going to the occult if your heart is pure and you're discovering the different parts of the world, different cultures worship God in different ways. In fact, we're all trying to do the same thing. The Aztecs were trying to do it. Even when they were killing thousands of people, they were still trying to do the same thing, trying to reach God. The Muslims are trying to reach God. The Christians are trying to reach God. The Buddhists are trying to be, well, one with enlightenment, but trying to reach God in that venue. But organized religion is not spirituality. Organized religions serve men. When you see charlatans, people who charge money for spiritual things, these people are despised by the living and the dead. There is no person that the spirits hate more than a person who would say they can speak and talk to spirits and charge their loved ones on earth for a service they could not provide. Taking advantage of people, daughters and sons and mothers and sisters and brothers in mourning. When these people who have probably already turned from God, the real God, the God of reality, decide they're going to try to be somebody, make themselves a guru, because they're insecure and they want to have a title, they want to be respected in some way. And they decide it's going to be fun to play with the occult and say, hey, guess what? Guess what? Look what I can do. And then they start taking advantage of people under the premise of their love and grieving for their loved ones. They're naughty little cats. They're going to get what they deserve because, unfortunately, the occult is real. And there are things that go bump in the night. They live on the edges of our reality. When you have a near-death experience for real, or your mind is not in the right set, you've been going around for a long time and you're vulnerable, and sometimes things that exist right outside our reality can pop right in. Not because you're inviting them, not because you're in a booth charging $5 to lay down some tarot cards. If you want to do that, that's fine. Just don't charge for them. Because any person who charges for anything of faith is a charlatan. And believe me, if there's 1 million people doing it, that means there's 1 million charlatans doing just that. That doesn't change the truth. We got to be good to each other and understand that we all have different faiths. But part of understanding people's faith is not taking advantage of them. I see religions that were made where they induct their children and make them prisoners of their own mind, believing the most insane stuff. This has nothing to do with God. This has to do with control. There are three things that bad people want. Here it goes. They want you to believe that the universe and everything in it came from nothingness. That's one. The second one goes like this. Everything in existence is by accident, just by random accident. Here's the third one. That everything, including you, has no purpose and no meaning. Now, a lot of people might say that's what atheists believe, but that's not true. I know good atheists. They don't believe that. Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bruce Lee, people like that. No. They may have not been religious, but they don't believe in that. You see, that's not atheism, that's nihilism. So what happens if you believe those three things? What happens if you believe we all came from nothingness, everything is by accident, and nothing has any purpose or meaning? Well, who talks like that? You ever see an interview after a serial killer is caught? Oh, well, you know what? If there's no God, that means there's no good or bad, and I could just do whatever I want. That's one. Then you got other people. Seen a beautiful, beautiful young girl, teenager, one time, kill herself. Stuck in an existential crisis. Not existential. Existentialism is just trying to gauge your part in reality. But nihilism, thinking, well, there's no God, there's no purpose to reality, there's no purpose or no meaning for me, and they slump into depression, and they kill themselves. How many of these people are there? 10? A million? Yeah. A lot of people. That means there's a lot of people killing themselves over those three things. And then there's a lot of people killing other people because of those three things. And what are those three things? Number one, we all came from nothingness. Number two, everything's an accident. Number three, there's no meaning or purpose in anything. People believe this, and when they do, it's always a road to ruin, because that's not reality. Number one, did we all come from nothingness? Of course not. We've already proven there's no such thing as nothingness. There's no law of mathematics where you can get something from nothing. And because you and me are something, we definitely came from something. That's number one. That got debunked right there. Number two, everything's by accident. Okay. If you were to grab a brick and smash a glass vase, and that glass vase would just break into 1,000 pieces, okay, maybe that's random. Universe don't work that way. There's all types of properties of physics, planetary, cosmic systems that have to operate by certain methods and systems, or else things will not be intact. That's not accident. Meaning and purpose. If the tide rolls in and rolls out, there's hundreds and thousands of things that benefit from it rolling in and rolling out. If the sky decides to make it rain, get precipitation in the air and rain comes down, there's hundreds and thousands of beings that benefit from this. Living things and inanimate things has purpose and meaning. And you can tell this because once you take away their function, other things either fall apart or no longer exist. So I debunked those three things right there. But that's still what they want you to believe, isn't it? So what do we do about this? We got to understand that reality and faith are intermingled. But you have to understand, faith is faith. The very definition of faith is believing in something without having to have it proved. And sometimes people argue so much that they forget that. It's all right to have faith. A lot of people say they believe only in the things that they can see and test. But very few people realize that there's so many things in reality that you can't see and test. you wouldn't even believe how much is actually out there that you can't perceive. So let's be good to each other, respect each other's views, not take advantage of each other, and learn how to love each other the right way. That means with tolerance, respect, and unbiasedness. We go that route, everything's going to be alright.